if we don't get the playoffs at the end of the season, is it deemed a failure, and what are the consequences of this potential failure?
That's nice and positive. No, I understand the question. Would I see it as a failure? Yes, I would, personally, because it will be the aim that we had. I think we're competing in a very, very difficult league. I think we've got a good team now. I think, like I alluded to at the start of this, when I first come to the club 2 years ago, we hadn't won for 12 and we're 20 in the league, and now we're 4 points from the playoffs with 7 games to go. Is there improvement? Yes. Is it as much as I wanted, and I'm an honest man? No. I want to be a bit higher, to be honest, but I respect the fact now it's a tough league, it's a difficult league with some good teams in it. But we've still got a chance, and I'm a positive man, and I'm afraid to err on sort of positivity and negativity.
Just follow up.
Thanks, Darryl. As teams are getting more money in this league, i.e. Stockport, Wrexham, how are we going to be more smart in our recruitment? Because the wages in the league seem to be going up. What is the plan to be smarter with our recruitment going forward?
Has anyone heard of Mo Sagaf before we signed him? Did anybody hear of Mo Sagaf before we signed him? No. One person in a room, 2. He was sitting on his sofa at home in Barking, not playing for anybody. Junior Marias, we signed him. I think I got told by somebody that I was getting battered for signing Kingston because he had 2 goals, and now he's got 8 and 16. I think we have been pretty shrewd with all of our signings, and even when we signed somebody like Paul McCallum, sorry about that, with Paul McCallum, I think we signed Macca at a time during the pandemic, and I think it was brilliant for Peter to back me to bring Paul in, but I think the value in Paul now, when you look at Stockport, Wrexham, Chesterfield, Grimsby, Southend, the money they pay in terms of high end, Macca's good value for money. I think it's been a good signing. Have we got signings wrong? 100%. And I'll get more wrong, but I hope I get more right than wrong, and I think I have so far.
I think a lot of the signings which we have seen have been pretty good, but from what I can see, and you look at the stats, the 7 teams above us, we've only beaten 2 of them when we played them twice so far. And when I see teams like Halifax and Chesterfield and Stockport, their benches are full of players that are like 6'3", and our bench is full of players that are a little bit smaller in size. So to get out of this league, are we not just going to look around some of the other clubs, and even in League 2, and say these are the players that are going to get us up? We like the players, we're positive about the players, but in reality, the teams at the top are physically much, much bigger than us, and that's where we're losing the games with the teams above us.
Physicality. I think we are a physical team, to be honest, and I think the way we play allows us to have maybe sharper players and more agility as well. And the games we've won, we've just seen some videos here. If you look at us playing Stockport, where we passed off the pitch with our ability and what we did, Solihull here, same thing. I think it's easy to look at. I know this sounds racist, someone's big, they're bigger than us. Well, the game is about the whole game, not just a set piece or a cross or whatever. And in terms of looking at other teams and looking at League 2 and looking at whatever else, it's very easy for anybody to sit here and say, oh, why don't we sign X from that team who's a centre-half or who's a forward? They might not want to come, they might not be able to afford them. There's various different reasons why you can get players and why you can't get players. And it is a difficult thing to do in terms of recruitment to get that right. I'll take your point, and it's something that we did look at. We brought Manny in, and we were looking for, if I'm being brutally honest, we've been looking for a centre-back for quite a long time. We've sat and spoke about it. But we wanted to get it right, and I feel in getting Manny in, we got the right one.
It appears that we were very good going forward early in the year, but we were letting in too many goals. So we signed Manny on, which was a good signing, and everyone knows what a good player he is. But why is it took him 3 or 4 games before he got on the pitch? Especially when we lost those games to big clubs. And those points could cost us a place in the playoffs.
In signing Manny, so in the last 8 games, and Manny's played in 2 of them, the last 2, we've kept 6 clean sheets in the last 8 games. So I think when you've got people in the team playing and in form, I think it's important that you show them trust. in what they're doing. I think to dislodge someone from the team that's played well, an example will be the game we lost to Grimsby away. We played EC on Tuesday night before, and we didn't play particularly well. Anybody who was there will say we didn't play particularly well, but we defended brilliantly. So to take out one of the back three after that performance to put man in would have been harsh on that back three. And I believe in, to be honest, you've got to wear in your shirt as well. As good as Manny is, he's got to come in and prove what he's good at. Like we all know we did, and I feel like we've done it the right way and getting him into the team. And he's embedded in as a teammate as well. And also as well, you bring in a new player that doesn't know the group, and you throw him straight in and dislodge someone who's someone's friend, etc., etc. You know, a knock-on effect to the group. So you've got to integrate him, sometimes slowly.
Right, one at the back.
Hi Darryl. I think the player we probably chat most about is Balanta. Do you think he fits the system we play, or do we have to kind of tweak it to him? Because we seem to change when he's in the team, and he's obviously a fantastic player.
It's a difficult question because I love him. I'm sure you all do. His talent is outstanding. He's not the only one, because we've got lots of talented players, but he's the one player you can play absolutely rubbish and Ange can just do some magic and you win 1-0. He's got that ability, and he's a great character as well in the changing room. He's fantastic around the club. Do I think he changes? In certain games I look at it and go, we need his composure. When games are 100 miles an hour, it gives you that moment, the quality, that touch. And other times you might see us in the front foot and we're playing so quick that sometimes you feel like you don't need him because you're going that quick. But I think he's a top player, and he'll always have a place here with us.
Everyone's on the fence about that one, mate. I'm a real man. Is that cricket?
Hi Darryl. I wonder why you think we struggle so badly against the bigger teams in this league? I know we don't lose games by much against them, but we don't have a very good record against the top 7.
Yeah, agreed. I think if you look at the games against top 7, you can help me as I go along because I forget sometimes. So Stockport away, we were good. Stockport home, they're the best team I've seen at this level ever, to be honest. And I thought we were poorer than I could see the 2 early goals. Notts County home and away, I felt we played really well in both the games, if I'm being really honest. That's how I felt in them games. Halifax away in the first half, they were better. Second half, we were better. And the exact same here, I thought as well. First half, they were better. Second half, we were better. Who else? Gone. Wrexham away, 1-0. Anyone who was there as well, I thought we played well. And sometimes football is about taking chances and, you know, not making errors. And I feel like them top teams, like the teams you mentioned, not all of them, but I think the top ones, Stockport, Wrexham, maybe not Chesterfield, but Halifax in particular as well, I think they don't make many errors. And we've made errors at big moments in the big games or missed big opportunities in them games as well. And I even put a game into that we won 5-1 here against Solihull. Because I watched the game back after that and it could have been 5-0. We didn't particularly play great. We won 5-1 and everybody was excited because we won 5-1, but the actual performance wasn't a 5-1 performance. So I think the games against the team to the top side, we've lost by the odd goal and we have to bridge that gap. And that's part of the challenge as well. And sorry, one more thing on that. I've said this recently about us we've gone from being, I think we're a good team. I think we're a good team. Now, to be a very good team, we have to do a bit more. And that's true.
Any more questions? Oh, a third question.
Hi there, Darryl. Do you think the current system we play is conducive to keeping clean sheets? I love Miles Weston, he's a great wing back, but I worry about our wing backs in terms of defensive stability.
So the personnel within the system, not the actual system. I've got a counter question. The personnel in the system or the system?
Probably the personnel that we currently play.
Fine, I get that. So if I was only going to say to you that if you look at Stockport, Solihull, Wrexham, they all play 3-5-2, Boreham Wood 3-5-2. Notts County played a lot of the season, and we all play it in different ways. If you look at, for example, Boreham Wood, and Luke's a good friend of mine, he's unbelievably defensive. They don't concede a lot of goals, don't score loads of goals. My philosophy is to be another way, is to be going that way and be exciting. So if I was a fan watching my team play, I want to see a team attacking across and scoring goals. Certain games we'll pick Westy and Valetti, certain games we've got Josh here and Lingy as well. And we'll probably tailor that to who we're playing against. So when we played Boreham Wood here, we played Lingy because we felt Mendy was their best attacking player at bring back. And other games like Saturday, Whiteley, who's really attacking, we decided to go attacking against him because he can defend very well for that position. So, does it more? I think it does, and it has done across the season. And there's still plenty of time left in the season as well.
Right, another question here.
This will be my last one. I was a bit disappointed to see that Joey Jones had left us to go to a direct rival, Grimsby. Disappointed he left us, but even more so to go to Grimsby. Not to Grimsby. Definitely not to Grimsby.
Just quickly on that one, so it comes to the point where Joey was going to leave the football club, and I don't think we should stop him going where he can get work. I think that's wrong, morally wrong. So if Grimsby wanted him, if Man United wanted him, if a Sunday League team wanted him, it is what it is. I think Joey has to go and get on with Joey's career, and we've got to do right with our football club, and at the time that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I am conscious that we're going to expect him to have a team ready for tomorrow. And it's very, very important. So, thanks, Darryl, for the presentation tonight.
Thank you very much for coming as well, I appreciate listening.
Without any pressure, is everybody fit for tomorrow?
Nearly.
Good. So, thanks, Darryl, and thanks for your time today. It is very, very difficult. Lots of managers won't do a fans forum the night before a game. And we've had those of these evenings, and we've had those of managers, and we've never been able to get one that would do one on a Friday night. So, we've never had one to do the night before the game. So I was a bit reluctant to ask him, but he said, yeah, come down. He didn't want to stay the whole night, which is fair for comment, I think. Okay. Peter, do you want to say a few words? I was just going to answer some questions.
You get just going to answer.
Look, I will tell you, and now that Darryl's left the room, there's nobody who is working harder on behalf of this club than Darryl. He's incredibly committed. He's, that presentation was really to show you a small piece of the amount of time and effort and analysis that goes into every match. We are trying to elevate everything we do. I don't know, maybe everybody in this room knew that all the players are wearing GPS and we're tracking every move. But we don't have the resources of certain clubs, but we are trying to elevate everything we possibly can on the player side. He has a tremendous relationship with the players. They trust him. I trust him. I think that it's fair to say, because I'm sure it's the first question, that we're all disappointed that we're not higher in the table, especially given how we started the season. I am encouraged that we are 4 points out of the playoffs with 7 matches to go. I do believe that, I am a positive person, I do believe that there's a true pathway to the playoffs. I also believe that if we don't make the playoffs, it's a failure. Somebody asked that, and I agree with that. I believe that the investment that we have made here, not only to the ground, but for the players, and our commitment as an ownership group is that we are a playoff club.
and that we should, if nothing else, compete for promotion. I know promotion out of the National League is difficult. I also do believe that there's been some money that has been spent, and it's not an excuse, it's just a reality. If you look at some of the contracts that have been signed in this league, it was very unexpected. I think we've been aggressive. I do think our bringing in Manny, even for, I know he didn't start right away, but even for this playoff push is a big difference maker. I would go to sleep at night knowing that anything that Daryl and Steve and the whole group has brought to us, we've supported, within reason. I believe that if we're not in the playoffs, we have a foundation that has been built here and has been building slowly, slower than we all have wanted. But from the day we showed up at Victoria Road to today is better, and it will continue to get better. I mean, it is on the right trajectory. I'm very thankful for all of you being here tonight. I appreciate all of your support. It means the world to me. Like you, every Saturday we live and breathe with these matches, and we believe in the club that we've assembled. We really do have a good culture of players. Joey wasn't a good fit for that culture, to be perfectly frank. When you have players who don't want somebody on a squad, we don't want to be. But the reality is, there's some decisions that are made behind the scenes that need to be made. But the fact is, we're really mindful of our culture, and we're really mindful that it is a family club, it's a smaller club, and that every decision we make, we're pretty thoughtful. And when you look at the analysis, and I know that's only on the pitch, of what Daryl has done, that's how we look at every decision. So we try to take some of the emotion out, we try to be fact-based. Obviously, it's an emotional business. I'll hand it to Steve on the question on Zuma, because it's a real one, and it's something that I think needs to be addressed from the human level as well. So.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks for everything he does. I mean, it's amazing. He hasn't been able to get over as much this year, and that's partly because of COVID, and just the logistics of getting in and out. And I know he's as frustrated as with all us as well. So thank you. With regard to Johan Zuma, it was probably one of the most difficult weeks that I've known here for years. And you see what happened, what was put in the Sun, and you see what was put online, and then you sit down and you talk to the player as a person, as a human being, as a young kid. And he made a mistake. He made a mistake, and he deeply regrets it. I've had him in my office on more than one occasion in tears. And not because of his career, but the shame that he put on to the club and to the players. But you've got to sit down and then look and see exactly what did he do. He's over in this country, the only family he's got is his brother. He doesn't speak great English, a bit like Daryl. He doesn't speak great English. I could say that, but he's not here, right? And he's with his brother, who he idolises, his older brother. Whatever happened in that, and you can't see that the whole thing from that clip, he filmed it, having a laugh and a joke, and he never put it on social media. And I'm going to put that out. You're looking at me quizzically now. Right. Well, it does. He shared it. He shared it with some friends. But it happened, right? It happened, right? He shared it with some friends, and one of them then sold it to the Sun. So someone's made 10 grand or so out of it, right? Okay. He didn't realise, he never done anything against the cats, right? He was there with his brother and he made a mistake. He hasn't killed anybody, he hasn't beat anybody up, he's made a mistake. There's none of us in this room that could put their hand on their heart and say we've never made a mistake. Should everybody lose their job because they've made a mistake? What?
It's a bit more than a mistake.
Alright, it is a mistake. Alright, it is a bit more than a mistake. It's a bit more than a mistake. He's done something wrong. Right? He's done something wrong. Does that mean he should lose his job over that? There's lots of people, he was in a very, very bad way, and I took it upon myself, and Darryl took it upon himself, to look after the person as an individual. And that's important, to look after him as an individual. Now, we took a decision to suspend him. And we kept him suspended, and whilst the RSPCA were doing their investigation. Now, we were told, I spoke to the RSPCA, their people rang me to say, we're going to charge him, and it's going to be released tomorrow. So we then made the decision so that we will now let the judicial procedure go through its course. It would be wrong to punish him as a club any further and let the judicial system. Now, the RSPCA said to me that's when it's going to be released, so that's when we made our statement. They then never released it. For whatever reason, amongst the judicial, the process, and he went to a magistrate's court and everything, they then didn't release it in the same way they told us it was going to release. It got leaked from someone at the Daily Mail, from somebody at the Irish States in the Daily Mail, it got leaked. But we decided as a club, we'd suspended him for several weeks, and that was a bit punishment from the club, and we now hand it over to the judicial procedure. Now that will go through the process, it will go to court, it will go to a magistrate court. I don't think there's a date been set for that. How long do you wait? How long do you punish somebody? You let the judicial procedure go through. Now whatever the courts decide is a fit punishment, then that will be down to the courts. It's not down to us. We've punished him enough, in my opinion.
Punish him some more, so we might get a chance to go to Liverpool.
But listen, you can't. We've all followed football long enough to know mistakes happen in games and different things, right? You can't blame me for that.
Sack him!
When you suspended him, no doubt that would have been play, but you would have held his salary, would you?
No.
So, what I would say that in normal employment law, once you've had the conviction, as a club or as a company, you would consider the effects of that conviction.
Oh, yeah.
On employment. So I think your role hasn't yet ended, has it?
And in fact, if you go back to the statement that we made, that we said that we would resume our position once the courts have decided. And we did make a statement to that effect at the time. So yes, no, you're 100% right. So we're waiting to see what the courts decide, and then we decide what our next stage is. But that's what we said, and to be fair, we were very, very open right from the start. We got a statement out on the Thursday, and then we put another statement. I think we put about 3 statements out on this. It's a difficult time, but I think you've got to appreciate this is a young man in a foreign country, and just to crucify him, so to speak, like that, would have been wrong, in my opinion. Right. If we've got no other questions on that, have anybody got any questions on anything else? Over in the corner.
Where was the question? Oh, there we go.
I'm going to take that.
This might sound a strange question, but Peter Frund is from America, and as we know, there are, well, how many, 268 million Americans? Have we got anybody, I know it's a strange question, but have we got anybody looking in America for players that may want to come here and play for us?
I think Craig actually addressed a similar question. Craig unfortunately couldn't get here tonight because Memphis was playing last night. Or they should have been playing, but it was hit by a typhoon. So you can see the pictures online. But Craig did address the similar question at the last fans forum. Unfortunately, with the laws in the immigration laws in the UK, a football player coming to play at this level wouldn't get a visa to play. So there's quite strict rules on visas now, and basically you've got to play at international level to get in. So the Premiership clubs get them, but lower down they won't get a visa.
Any other questions for Steve or whatever they are?
Hi guys. You mentioned earlier about taking the emotion out of things and agreed with that. When we obviously gave Darryl the new contract at the start of the season when we were very successful, now looking in hindsight, I'm not saying he's done a bad job, he's done a decent job, I'd say. Could you see in hindsight wait till the end of the season before making that decision?
I don't. I actually feel, whether it's at training or whether it's through our weekly meetings, that we can't do better at this level from a coaching standpoint. I really feel strongly about that, regardless of how the next 7 matches go. Obviously, I recognize that every coaching job isn't forever. When I met Peter Taylor, I admired him. I continue to admire him. I think he is one of the great football minds that I've spoken to and have had the pleasure to know. We decided to make a change, which was necessary at the time. I feel like when you make those changes, it takes time to build the new system, build the new culture. And if I didn't see progress, if I didn't see momentum, if I didn't see us going in the right direction, I would say, well, then we need to look at making another change. But I don't see that. I see that we're moving in the right direction. So, as I said, look, I hope that we're in the playoffs. I hope we're promoted, and I still have tremendous hope for that. But the reality is that I think it'd be taking a step backwards right now to bring somebody else in I was going to say the fall, but we open up in August next year because of the World Cup. So I think it'd be taking a step backwards. So no, I have no regrets. In fact, I'm actually thrilled that we locked him up. Another question somewhere? Oh, they're all very happy. Oh no, that's waving arms.
Steve, the second Southend game, what went wrong? When the visiting supporters got into our stand? And the way they were allowed to come right down to the fence. No, the way they cut the chair. And also York did it.
York done what, sorry? They came down towards the end of the game, didn't they? Right, okay, they came down towards the end of the game. With the Southend supporters, the second game, the first game, there was a problem with the stewards with the gate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's the game you're talking about, is it?
Yeah, the one where they
That's the cup game, isn't it? That's the cup game, isn't it?
No. Right. The league game. Let's do it that way. The league game. The Southend supporters got into the onto the terracing area. Is that what you're talking about?
Whatever game it was, I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that was the first game, so that was the league game. Okay, and there's a gate there that hadn't been locked, right? And that was the problem. And a number of Southend supporters came down there and they got through that gate. The police and the stewards, to be fair, it was the stewards, the police aren't here to steward games. So let's remember that. Okay, that's not their duty. And the stewards then, it took them a while to clear them off the terracing back on. Once they got there's never enough staff to push those people back into the seats. And they claimed that area and we couldn't get them back. Now, normally, once if the supporters are in the seats, it's very, very much easier to control them because they come down and they can't come down in a mass like that. They tried to do it in the second game. They tried to do it in the second game, in the cup game, and that's when one of their supporters ran onto the pitch and then tried to jump over the wall. And a couple of stewards stopped it. But if you're asking me what went wrong was that gate was unlocked. And that was a failure on our part.
The steward actually let him in the game because he
It
opened the gate and came up and then the police had to stand to it.
It should have been locked.
It should have been locked.
Yeah, it should have been locked. The stewarding plan is to stop people standing at the front. I accept that. But even in Premiership games, when a team scores, you get people try and run down the aisles and go in the front. And it's a balance, it's always a balance against how many stewards that you have compared to the amount of people that are in there. And it's hard. But yeah, there was a mistake in that game, the first one.
And those extra stewards came from nowhere. Around the back of the stand, didn't they?
That for the second game.
Well, for the big trouble game, yeah.
Yeah, for the second.
Suddenly stewards came out.
Because there are two different types of stewards that we've got, and in fact, this season we've had 3 sets because since the pandemic, not all our stewards came back. So we've got our core stewards, we've got some from a company that do a number of football clubs in London, and then on top of that, we'll have especially trained stewards that are trained to get pitch, what they call snatch stewards, to get stewards out. Now, not all our stewards are trained to that level. And obviously that costs more money. And we have clamped down. And it's a fine balancing line. How much do you clamp down? We want kids to come to the games. We want young people to come to the games. But when they're in a group, they can be a bit more lively. And it's a balancing act. But we will take action where necessary. And a couple of days ago, a lad threw some, and you might laugh, but I've seen it on social media, all he'd done was throw some water at the linesman. But the linesman doesn't know it's just water. And it's a fear factor there, and technically, and the ex-police officers in the room will tell us that's technically assault. So, and he was taken out.
West Ham goal, I think. Yes, West Ham goal on that table.
I can't really compete against that.
Right, we've got a question here, Steve.
Yeah, my question is to Pete. Yeah, with the club going forward, I mean, have you got any plans for the stadium?
Ask it again, do I have plans for what?
Well, you got any improvements to the ground? I mean, the club's going forward.
Additional improvements. I want to get through the next 7 matches. But look, we're always looking at improvements, and it's definitely something that we want to continue to invest in. We have probably spent significantly more from a budgetary standpoint on the players than we had intended. So that's where our resources have gone and will continue to go. Yeah, we'll continue, and in sincerity, you know, I know social media has got its evils, but the reality is, you know, when I get really thoughtful suggestions on where money can be spent from a facility standpoint, it's helpful, because I'm not on the ground every match, and I don't have a crystal ball as to what would be best for all of you. So I'm welcome to those suggestions, and I'm open to them because they're important. This is your home, right? This is your club. So it's important if there are things that aren't that are lacking that we can continue to improve on. Like those 2 ceiling tiles over there, Steve. What the fuck is happening over there? They're disgusting. Leaks. Yeah.
And a couple more at the back. We got some time, Steve? We're okay for a little while? Yeah. Oh, blimey, everyone's got their arm on. Let's have somebody who hasn't asked the question yet.
Cheers. So basically, we spoke about it earlier in our recruitment and things like that, but I don't think it is a secret that Stilly was doing some recruitment at the club, and when Darryl mentioned some of the players that we brought in, that was while Still was here, and now he's gone, we kind of went downhill, and Southend sort of went on a climb. So what is our recruitment strategy now, and who is heading up our recruitment? Because it's probably not plain to see that apart from Manny and Mariah, some of the things that we've signed probably aren't great.
To be fair, most recruitment and leave Southend aside, because you've got to remember Southend didn't do any recruitment last summer. They weren't allowed to, basically. So they had that spell in January where they were allowed to go and sign some players. Because in the few months before that, they weren't allowed to sign any players. If you're aware of that, they had an embargo. If I'm honest, I was quite surprised when the embargo was lifted, because they've still got quite a lot of problems down there. And I understand what you're saying, but I don't believe it's completely true, because some of the players that John recommended, and we get recommended players from loads of different angles, loads of different people. Darryl's got somebody who has got big connections and still got big connections in the EFL, and he's pointing players to us all the time. But your recruitment is mainly done during the summer. Lots of our squad are contracted anyway, so it's only 3 or 4 players that you tend to change, and it's getting that right. The thing about Manny, we've tried to sign Manny a couple of times this season, and he wanted to come, but Scunthorpe didn't want to lose him. And Darren and I had spoken several times about bringing in a different type of player, and his reaction to me was, what's the point? We should only bring somebody in if it's going to improve what we've got. So we wait till the right person's available. And we kept our interest in Manny, and that's through an agent that we deal with. And I'm not a great lover of agents, but And any of you that saw the BBC list last week or the week before last, the amount of money that's gone out in the game, even at our level, it breaks my heart. But it's a fact of life and you've got to deal with them. So there's one or two that you deal with more sympathetically.
I think that's goal number 2.
That was an assist from Sue, mate. So, now, with John, some of those players that had gone to Southend, he'd mentioned to us already. We knew who he was going to sign. But just because someone's available doesn't mean you're necessarily going to sign them straight away. You might sign them later on in the year, during the close season, when you're available, when you're looking for a player of that capability. But rest assured, Darryl knows his targets and he's got the connections to identify them. And the other thing that Darryl does, and for some of us who are a bit old school, it's amazing. But where a Ted Hardy or a John Still would be out 2 or 3 nights a week physically watching games, Darryl spends hours and hours and hours watching video footage. And I've never known anybody, because with Boy Scout now and other platforms, you can get games from, you get footage of games from all over the country at all different levels. So he does a lot of work there. So it's a different way of recruiting.
I think there's a follow-up question for you on that.
And you said that we've got someone who's got good connections in the EFL, but you look at this league and like Sutton's a good example last year, and the teams that we've had that's gone up, it's about finding them gems in non-league and the lower leagues who are the ones who really want it. So I know it's good having EFL connections, but are we picking into them still pockets as well?
Well, yeah, you've got Mo Sagat, you've got Junior Marias. Now, as Darryl said, the amount of people that laughed at us when we signed Junior, no one else wanted him. Kings Lynn didn't want him. He couldn't do anything for Kings Lynn. We identified it, and we went to Bexley. We actually went after Junior twice. We got him the second time, because the first time they were short of players, and then decided they didn't want to let him go. And then, this is another problem when you've got a good benefactor, is that sometimes the pricing goes up. And what Kings Lynn was asking for, we didn't think was realistic. So again, you shouldn't be overspending. And we went back at the right time and got him for what we considered was the right price. And he's developed under Darryl and the coaching staff that we've got. I think everybody will admit he's developed so much since he's been here. So you've got, you know, it's one stage we've been told, why aren't we signing big football league players? And then the next say, are we looking for the gems? We're trying to do a bit of both. But there's lots of targets, but you can't always go after all the targets.
Oh, right, Peter.
No, I was going to say, and then you have the problem of players that weren't performing at their level. Let's take Will Wright and see what he's done in Darryl's system, and then you have the worry of having to try to sign him because he's become a player that we all didn't see 2 years ago. So, you know, it's just a balance, and it's frustrating, and it's exhilarating, and it's, but, you know, I think we balanced it well, whether it's Paul McCallum up here from a contract standpoint, or bringing in, I mean,
won't bring up Zuma's name again, but, you know, the reality is, where was he? So, you know, I think we're trying to balance it well. And I do think Daryl is pretty savvy when it comes to that process. You'd be shocked at how many names and CVs and videos come across our emails almost daily, and what we're looking at, so.
The other thing I should have added, which is something that we announced on the Zoom meeting forum that we had last summer, were these 5 apprentices that we've taken on. Now, the most well-known of that is going to be Aaron Blair. Now, you talk about a gem that we've picked up, that we've developed. He's going to be a player going forward. And the great thing about the system that we're developing here, and it is a bit ad hoc, I must admit, but we've got these 5 lads that they're on an apprenticeship, they're going to college 1 day a week, they're training with our squad, so they're getting the full-time training, but they're not sitting on our bench, they're actually playing men's football in a league 2 or 3 below us, and they're developing. And when I speak to other clubs, no club at our level at the moment has got that type of development. And it's something that we're looking to increase for next year. We're still talking about it, and we've got a meeting about it next week. The decision is whether we recruit enough to put them in a team themselves and put them in a college league. I'm actually, because of what's happened this year, because of the way that the players have developed so well, I'm actually erring on the side of keeping it a small group, perhaps 8 or 10, and continuing them training with our first team squad, and then going out on loan to clubs in the Eastern League, and developing them that way. Because it's worked so much well with Aaron Blair, and it's working with Daniel Obi. And so we're developing our own players for the future that are part of the style, and they fit in well. As a squad, the first thing on a Monday is what was yours. They know what their result was. How did you play? If Aaron scored, and he's been scoring for fun for Brighton, see, it's absolutely fantastic. And we never developed players like that when we had the academy in the EPP. This is a much better way of doing it, in my opinion.
All right, another question here, Steve. Hi, guys. Yeah, not really on the playing side as much, but we are only 4 or 5 points off the playoffs, and there's not really much advertisement around it from within the club. It feels like that we've got a playoff push coming up. I know there's ticket deals on for tomorrow for the lottery. You get buy one, get one free if you've got a lottery ticket, but it's not really advertised into the whole club to get more bums on seats. I mean, I know we had Southend and a big load of fans. We won 3-0 this week. It's like there's not as much advertisement for games coming up or for the playoff push that is actually still on. So yeah, is there any plans to try and do a deal for the last few games or keep fans in over the last few weeks just to get something going there?
It's a fantastic question. I do believe that we should be branding the playoff push too, but go ahead, Steve.
You're quite right. You're quite right with the lottery deal, and we're actually contracted to do that. And to be fair, the 11 million that Camelot put in at the beginning of last year, so January, February 21, was what kept the National League going. And the payoff against that was that there was going to be this week. We've missed the boat on that slightly, in is that the week that they had, we didn't have a home game. So those 2 Saturdays, we didn't have a home game. So ours is tomorrow, whereas most of the other clubs have already done theirs. But we've been pushing every single day which is what we've been contracted to do as part of the league deal with Camelot, for those free tickets. And there's a lot of people. I was in the shop this evening, and there was a lot of people coming in with their lottery tickets and claiming their free ticket, which is fantastic, and we'll get a reimbursement from National Lottery for that via the league. And it's been such a success, they're thinking about doing it next year, but slightly different. And that'll be on top of the £11 million they gave the league last year. But let's not forget, without that money, this league would have stopped last year. So I think it's important when you've got that sort of support that the clubs support the companies that have done it. So I'm not going against that. Don't worry, Lewis is over there, and Lewis does all of our social media, and he knows how important it will be to get promotions and get, as you say, bums on seats for the playoff promotion challenge. Now, one of the things tomorrow, and we've been doing a lot of work for tomorrow's game, we don't expect Barnet to bring much more than 80 to 100 on tomorrow. People think it's Saturday, tomorrow's Friday. Which is really, really poor considering the amount of people that we took to Barnet earlier on in the year. It's incredible, I couldn't believe it. In fact, Jamie, who runs the turnstiles, was assuming that we were going to close the SD Samuels stand and have it just for away supporters. And I said they won't bring anybody. Up to this morning, they'd sold about 60 or 70 tickets, or we'd sold 60 or 70 tickets to Barnet supporters. Even so, even with only having 100 away supporters, I'm still expecting a crowd tomorrow of 1,700, 1,800 people. Right, okay, now normally we don't get up to that sort of number unless the away team have brought 300 or 400. So there has been work being done, and we are getting people there tomorrow. It's not, I would like to get over the 2,000. But, and we would have done, had Barnet brought a couple of hundred. But I'm expecting 16, 17, 1800 tomorrow.
Yeah, go on, Peter.
Listen, on the playoff push side, though, first of all, tremendous commitment from all of you coming out tonight. Tomorrow, we need to be there for this club. Every match is a cup match from now till the end of the season. I want to be here for Wrexham to play into the playoffs on the last game of the season. We need everybody as loud and as rowdy as we can possibly be. So think of all my American friends who come over and add the energy that they do, which is why we won the revolution, Paul. But in sincerity, I'm so appreciative of all of you and your commitment to the club. You have my commitment to your club, and I really look forward to seeing you all out there tomorrow. And I hope we get 3 points. We really need it. So thank you very much.
Just a huge thank you, obviously, to Steve for standing up and always getting up to flack as he always does, but especially to Peter. Thank you for coming over from the jolly old